Welcome everyone. Yes, we're in the month of April. This is a truly historic month in the whole history of the Republic of Liberia. So I thought to use a couple minutes or so to do a little bit of reflection on the month of April, but more so to do a little bit of analysis and in-depth introspection around the progress of the country and what we definitely need to do as a society as we get towards leapfrogging the national development, national development, and of course the national consciousness of our society forward. One suggestion I would like to make here is that what we do need in the present moment is a psychological transformation of the mind. If you look at the full history of this country, we've had different chapters of violence and political conflict, civil disobedience that have led to a wholesale destruction and a demolition of a society. I mean, look at the country, economic infrastructure, our roads, our electricity infrastructure, all of these very cardinal elements of the society were destroyed as a result of the conflict and the interregnum that was greeted this country in the period of April 1980, of course 1971, and all the political upheaval that led towards the total annihilation of not only economic infrastructure of the country, but hundreds of thousands of people who were displaced and of course murdered in a civil conflict. The question that must be asked therefore is that after all these years, what is the balance sheet? You know, what can we point to as a society in terms of the outcome and the product of all of the upheaval that we've been greeted with for several decades? And one ultimate conclusion is that, well, look at all the promise for change, all the promise for transformation, they've all ended up in naught. We've not really been able to change the course and the direction of our country. We have massive unemployment and underemployment today in the society. Our educational infrastructure and the quality of education that we greeted is significantly below par. And of course, we've not been able to expand agriculture. We've not been able to really deliver the goods for the society, despite the conflict and the civil strife that the country was plunged into full force. So the question now comes to forward, you know, what is the direction forward? What do we do now? You know, what was missing in terms of the whole process of consciousness building? What mark did we miss as a country holistically? And my suggestion is that we have to take a new fundamental direction forward. And that direction has to be a full force psychological transformation of the mind. Not physical transformation, not physical revolution. We've tried all of that and we see the childish implication of that. What we do need now is the radical revolutionary transformation of the psychology of the mind, of the mindset of the country in terms of how we move forward. And what does that entail? That entails individual citizens on their own, doing their own introspection about their own lives. I mean, we do have many young people in the society today, some of them unemployed, most of them, you know, their individual conditions have not improved. They've not been able to get the level of education or even invested in ways that will improve their own living standards. And most people, you know, as a matter of fact, try to transfer that responsibility over either to a government or to an external factor to drive transformation in their own lives. So I think that for me is a form of dysfunction. You know, what do we do individually to put our own life on course rather than waiting on an external factor to drive that transformation for ourselves? So my suggestion is that individual citizens, individuals will have to begin to turn inward, you know, to try to do the investigation for ourselves, to find out, you know, what is the obstacle in my own life, what can I do on a practical level, what can I do psychologically to change the course of my own life and do the deep dive in ourselves. Now, government and external actors can do what they need to do on the external level, to, to change this and that so that we can improve our own chances in life. put that one side, and I'm saying that it is time for us to think inward and say, what are some of the fundamental obstacles that I've constructed in my own life, that is putting a block in terms of the way I make changes moving forward. And I think that if we can do that, not only as individual citizens, but even on the level of a government, we have politicians, for example, and we expect politicians to impact, to transform our society. I mean, this is the greatest, I would say, nonsensical expectation ever for us as a society to expect our politicians, our legislators, our executive actors, to drive transformation of our society when those politicians themselves have not even transformed their own life inwardly. And we ask ourselves, why are we not seeing results in our public life? Why are we not seeing results in transformation of our society? And most of these people who expect to drive transformation have got, college and academic learning. But how come we still a backward society that we are? My suggestion is that we have missed out on the key fundamental aspect of our society, and that is most of our public officials we think will drive transformation forward. They themselves have not transformed themselves inward. Therefore, every action, even if those actions are well-intentioned, end up, landing on unfertile soil. Why? Because the fundamental building block upon which external transformation has to happen must first be inward transformation of ourselves before we can talk about transforming our society externally. So if you look at on a practical level, you see the society. Many politicians have come on campaign trails, and promised things. I mean, some of them well-intentioned. Many people talk about, for example, Senator Jallah, who was a popular change advocate, before going to the Senate. I mean, take nothing away from the man. He sounded well-intentioned, he sounded proper, that he wanted to drive change. Minister Connor and many other people have thought that. But if you look at the results after many years of advocacy for change, we still tend to end up in the same place we started from, or make practically no progress at all. The question is, why is that the case? Well, despite the good intention, but there is something fundamentally missing. If we want to drive our society, we cannot do that because we think if we shout the call for change, a few people will hear that, and we can do that because of our own aggrandizement. We want to gain political leverages, we want to gain political favor, we want to gain the adoration of the masses or the multitude. That is a fraudulent place to start from. If we genuinely want to drive change in our society, the change has to start from within. We have to be clear to say, look, there has to be changes in the society. We have to become selfless. We have to become one. We have to become open towards the change we want to drive. And we have to also transcend narrow political party boundaries and cleavages. I am in this party, and so I want to make a particular political statement that will give my political party a particular selfish political advantage. We have to transcend political boundaries. UP, CDC, we can maintain this institution for the form that they make up, but deeply, deeply in our heart, we have to transform these institutions so that whatever call, whatever drive we want to lead in a society will be beyond the narrow limits of these political institutions. If we want to say we want to transform the economy, our vision for transforming the economy has to be unlimited, it has to transcend narrow political boundaries. That's the only possibility for change. And of course, that cry for transformation has to be beyond party, has to be beyond religion, has to be beyond just all the limited boundaries, cleavages, narrow, fragmentary position that we hold in the society. It has to transcend that. And the clarion call has to come from deep within ourselves for the forward march of the society. Otherwise, we're always going to be thwarted, by the narrowness of the message and the narrowness of the transformation. And for me, that's why many people say, oh, Chico, which political party you belong to? I think belonging to political party, belonging to social group, belonging to religious, spiritual movement, and dying beyond the causes of those institutions narrows the vision. And my perspective is that we need a broader outlook beyond the narrow, limited confines of political parties and social groupings, but a call, that mobilizes the society as a whole, people from all walks of life believing in that agenda. And of course, not necessarily like a broad movement we've seen many movements that have come and failed. We need to transcend narrow limits of movement also. Believing in, understanding what the truth of the matter is and bringing that understanding and putting it to the disposal of a lot of our people through a psychological transformation of the mind and a transformation that lead towards making the required changes that we have to make in all aspects of our individual lives before talking about going in externally and making the changes that we need to see on the external level. So that's what I want to contribute today in this month of April. If we want to move our society forward, we want to lead a transformation of our economy, transformation of our life, that transformation first has to start inwardly, has to start on an individual basis, because it will transform our individual life and transform our outlook about ourselves. Automatically, collectively, all of that will come together in terms of the progress and transformation of our society.